Hey, welcome back to A Faster Me. This is the Taylor Elizabeth Clifford Memorial Grand Prix. This is going to be the women's 4-5 and masters 35 plus. And I have Ellen with me here to break down the video.
Samantha Nuss is off the front, setting a good pace for the first lap, and just wanted to stay in good position. So just tried to stay up towards the front of the race.
Yeah, that's Holly, second wheel there from UCSD. So yeah, we got kind of lucky today on the rain staying away. You can see it's pretty cloudy, but there's a little rain in the forecast for the morning, but the rain stayed away. But it did get pretty windy, and this section here is a pretty stiff headwind here.
Last year we did race, well, a little bit in the rain. I think the first race of the day was in the rain, and the women's 4-5 went second, and it was really wet and soggy. So coming in, we knew that there was a forecast for a potential rain, so I was prepared to be a little wet, and it was very nice. And the wind did get stiffer as the day progressed, but it definitely was significant here.
Yeah, so if you can see the map up in the top left corner, it's not exactly, a square four-corner crit, but it is basically just a four-corner crit with a little bit of weave in the road. So here is pretty much a little cross tailwind here, and that tailwind kind of goes straight through to the final turn in turn 4. But this is kind of the faster part of the circuit after turn 2. Between 2 and 4 is kind of like the faster flowing part of the circuit. And then between the front straight and after turn 1 is a pretty stiff headwind and crosswind.
Another thing I'd like to point out is my heart rate is inaccurate. So my heart strap for my heart monitor broke a couple weeks ago, and I've been using my watch. So sometimes it shows higher than what it really is, I think, and today is definitely way lower. It says I averaged 72 beats for the whole race, which that would be more of a resting heart rate.
Yeah, and Samantha put in a pretty big effort on this first lap. It's I think she pretty much led the entire first lap here.
And she swung out a little bit out to turn, and I stayed a little inside, not wanting a bunch of people to come underneath, but maybe should have stayed in the draft. But yeah, she pulled this whole first lap, and we were content to let her do it.
Yeah, and it's a pretty good field. I can't remember the exact numbers. You guys have 20-something riders. But yeah, this course, I think with the crosswind, most of the races through the day, it leads to breakaways and people attempting breakaways. So this race is no different. There's going to be, some attacks and stuff like that. So it's definitely going to keep the pace high. And with the crosswind, it makes it pretty hard to, the efforts are kind of magnified a little bit.
And there, Samantha's gonna be done pulling. I think she was flicking her elbow and getting out of the way, so Holly comes through.
Yeah, we also have a lot of preems on this race that keeps it a little bit spicy. So you can see the speed's down a little bit. They're under 20 miles per hour.
And as we slowed down, I was prepared for somebody to attack, so I was trying to stay ready.
Yeah, so the young lady in blue up there, I think a blue Rafa kit, looks really strong. She uses like a really slow cadence though. You guys probably heard me talk about this before. When you have a really slow cadence, it's kind of hard to match accelerations no matter how strong you are. So she increases the pace and goes up to the front there. And then you see Maria kind of run her down, and Ellen jumps on Maria's wheel here. But they definitely have the pace up. It's just if you notice that cadence is really slow, and again, it's going to be hard to match accelerations and follow wheels when you have a cadence that's when you grind that much.
She stayed a little tighter to make the turn as well. Maria's checking to see, hey, is there people with us? We may have had a small gap. And this is going to be going into a preem lap. They're going to be ringing the bell, I think, for $50.
Yeah, I think Maria, or the mommies, Maria and Courtney, I think they had a really good strategy. You can tell from the beginning here, Maria's going to tenderize everyone's legs, get the pace hot, and just kind of punish the group a little bit and set up Courtney for a pretty good counterattack. And that's good team tactics. They have good experience and they kind of know each other's abilities and stuff like that. So I think it was set up really well. And that's what I'm talking about there. If you see how slow the cadence is, it's kind of hard to get back on a wheel or to match accelerations when your cadence is that slow.
And here I was happy to be third wheel instead of second wheel. Especially I had seen this girl in front of me, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, doing a hard effort. So into the wind, it was good to be third wheel. I also, didn't plan to contest the preem. I was just hoping to maybe, once the preem went, maybe there'd be the three of us for a breakaway, but that wasn't the case. But these are some of, what I was thinking.
Yeah, so there she goes again with the attack here. Or try to raise the pace. You can see Jahan is in the middle of the course there, so Ellen kind of slows down, just telling Jahan to stay where she's at. Definitely don't want anyone to run her over or anything like that. But they had to mix the juniors in with the 4-5s today just because there wasn't enough people in the junior field in the morning. They were supposed to go off at 8 a.m. But because there's only 2 juniors, they just delayed the race and put them in with this field here. So you can see Erica came around when Ellen slowed down. Erica came around and closed the gap there.
And I think there was one male junior. I'm not sure everyone knew that he was racing in the race because I think there was an incident of people telling him to get off the course, and later he was apologizing, saying it was his first crit. And then I know Jahan is new to, clipless pedals, so yeah, definitely lost a little focus there, I think.
Well, this actually may be Jahan's first race also in the with adults,
For sure.
Yeah, she usually does like the
kids races.
The kids race. So this is her first actual official USA cycling race. So there was the preem, and you can see that Erica and Maria kind of gets off the front here on the preem, so Ellen kind of runs it down. Ellen's actually doing a lot of work at the beginning of this race, more than she should be, in my opinion. But it's it's a lot of race, and that's kind of what happens when you want to monitor the front. She does have a teammate in the race, so Audrey's in the race as well. And Audrey, I think we're so used to just Audrey having the yellow jersey for CBR that I think they kind of raced it the same way as well. So this is what I was talking about. You see Maria's on the front, just kind of setting the pace here, and I think she's just kind of setting it up for a counterattack, basically. Just wanted, pretty strung out. It's been single file pretty much the entire race, and anytime it's single file, it doesn't have to be blistering fast, but that just means it's fast for the circumstances.
And here, because we were slowing down a little, I was really anticipating a move happening, and you can see Maria looking back, and there goes Courtney, and I'm going to try to jump on her, and this is the most watts I do in the race, is trying to get on her wheel.
Yeah, so we're already 10 minutes into the race, and these are some pretty big laps. The lap is 1.1 mile, so it takes over 2 minutes a lap. And yeah, like I said, I think Ellen's already done like a decent amount of work just covering wheels at the beginning, and then covering Courtney, who's super strong. Like, yeah, I think probably would have been a little better if you would have not covered so many moves at the beginning. And Courtney's putting in a big dig here, just trying to get off the front, trying to separate. And you guys end up getting a pretty big gap here from the beginning.
And I knew from the major motion race that we'd done earlier in the year that she could definitely stay away, very strong. So I was hoping to just be able to hang with her. And I can tell at this point that she's riding a little bit more comfortably, even though it's hard. But I'm suffering significantly. And probably, like you said, looking back at the efforts, I didn't think I had done that much work, in my memory of it. But, the video is a good way to see what happened.
Yeah, those surges, like, 300-400 watts here and there for 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there. I mean, they're pretty high intensity, so that does take a lot out of you. So Courtney flicks right here, and you come through. I know you tell her that you're willing to work and see how far you guys can make it. So, yeah, so you guys start a little cooperation and rotate here for a few laps.
And she was definitely smart, having me pull in the wind. I was trying not to pull too long just because, I know obviously the wind is harder, and I think, we're faster with the stronger rider first typically.
Yeah, but I also think too, like, your cadence went down a lot right here in the headwind, and same with going uphill. When it's windy or you want to spin when in the wind. Basically a little rhyme there, but yeah, you want to keep your cadence a little higher when you're going into a headwind. If you're in a tailwind or downhill, you can have a little bit slower cadence. But going into a headwind, you don't want to blow yourself up. You want to have your legs spinning a little bit more. You don't want to be barely at 80 RPMs.
And the headwind feels like a hill, so it felt probably harder than the little hill last week at CBR. In this lap, where I think the bell's going to be ringing for another cash preem. I know we're not there yet, but just giving you the preview.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I think this part here, is actually the fastest part of the course here. And like I said, it's a pretty good tailwind, so that's probably what contributed to, having the speed higher. But yeah, Courtney's pretty solid here. She's just consistent, not too surgy, just putting in like a really solid effort. It's really impressive also because she's not that big either. A lot of the larger riders have a lot of power on the flats, but she's not that big, and she's putting in some pretty good watts. I think Ellen averaged 237 normalized, I think, on this race. And what was your regular
I think
average?
232 and maybe 202 or 207
Average?
possibly for the average. Yeah, I think maybe 202.
Yeah. But yeah, that's still pretty good effort. And like I said, 232 normalized. So definitely a pretty good effort here. And you can see here you've been averaging just under 200 while you're in her draft, which means obviously she's well over 200.
Yeah, so strong. It just really throws me off seeing that low heart rate. I wish I could know what it really was. But metrics are not always accurate, but they're nice to have when you do have them.
Yeah, this road right here too. Not only are you into the headwind on that road is really beat up with a lot of cracks, potholes, bumps, stuff like that. That's just in between turns 1 and 2. The surface is not the greatest, so you have poor surface and a stiff headwind.
And of course, it's much easier to navigate when you're single file, but in a pack, I can imagine, you're hitting that sometimes, going over the potholes or the manholes. I remember last year in the rain with some puddles, and that section was a little bit sketchy.
Yeah, so I think here Courtney says enough is enough, and she puts in a really strong dig. You can tell she's working hard, but like I said, she's pretty disciplined, pretty comfortable. So everyone suffers. So I think she just said, yeah, if she puts in another really strong effort here, that she might be able to lose Ellen, and she did.
Lose me, get the money. It's it's all good.
Yeah, and it was okay too because they only have, I think they have 5 laps to go now, and we were okay with trying to get second. So I was thinking, yeah, Ellen may be able to TT, her way to second place. So yeah, that was kind of the plan after this. Is I just tell her like, yeah, just go ahead and TT for second if you can.
And I do like a good hard effort. I like a TT effort. So I was hopeful. Kind of seeing the watts that I'm doing, though, it is over threshold for most of the next lap or so, which is, it's hard to sustain.
Yeah, 10 minutes. You can't really do 10-minute VO2 efforts. Typically a VO2 effort is going to be like 8 minutes or less. It's not factual, obviously. You can, there's some wiggle room there. But in general, you're not going to do a VO2 effort for more than about 8 minutes. And that's like on the high side. Most of the time, your VO2 efforts are only going to be about 5 minutes or so.
And here you see 260, 250 into the wind. That's hard. I'm trying.
Yeah, Ellen's FTP right now is probably about 225 or so, 220-ish, 225. So yeah, anything above that is definitely a pretty tough effort. And again, we're 17 minutes in now, and for the entire race, she has not been worse than third place. So yeah, takes a lot of effort on the front end here. Yeah, and it's much harder, especially if you're not like a true breakaway rider. It's much harder doing these efforts solo than it is with other riders, or with, in a pack, or with another rider to rotate and give you some relief here and there.
And you see, at first Courtney was in sight, and there's that little bit of hope, like maybe I'll catch again. But then as she got smaller and smaller, and probably eventually close to out of sight, I knew that wasn't happening.
Yeah, I just saw her turn 3 when you had started speaking or whatever, and she's up there turning turn 4 just about now. There she goes right there, turning turn 4.
So small, I can barely see.
Yeah, it's like once you lose the draft, kind of reality sets in, it's over, so that gap just starts to grow.
And I can see my corners are not as crisp as I would like them. I'm a little far from the apex, or from the curb. And here I did try to come by to be able to hear you. I think there's 4 to go. You're saying, hey, TT it. So I'm going to still put in a dig. I might have liked to know the gap from the field, so I could have kind of played with those numbers myself. But I did watch the live stream from Ray Mars, and I was able to see, they were catching me quicker. So
yeah, and I think too, once they saw that you weren't with Courtney anymore, I think they started chasing. Obviously, it's a little different when you guys were together. You guys were going a little faster, obviously. But once they saw that you weren't with Courtney anymore, they started chasing.
Well, and then there, was incentive for multiple people to, not chase. So our team and the mommies both have people that, you know, don't want the break to get caught when we're together.
So now, yeah, we're probably down to about, I think we're down to 3 laps almost. Or the next
Yeah.
lap will be going into 3 laps, I think.
And you do let me know that they're catching at a quick rate and try to recover, so it's nice to have a little guideline from the sidelines.
Yeah, once I saw the gap was down to only a couple seconds, I just said, yeah, just go ahead and recover, jump back into the group and recover, and either prepare yourself for a finish or help Audrey get a good finish. Yeah, because you can see the effort's still pretty good here. The speed is not really high, but again, doing 230, 250, that's still a really hard effort. Which means you are in pretty good shape, so yeah, it's, you know, it just lets people know, like, it's not as easy as it looks, you know, and especially breaking away is not as easy as it looks. Like, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of momentum. You got to really hold your speed and just stay consistent. So it might be here that I tell you, hey, just recover. They pretty much caught you. They're about 3 seconds back. So yeah, I just say just jump back in and recover.
And I think that's Jahan, and Sam was riding with her, I think. And I probably should have just let off the gas completely. I did, you know, kind of slow down a little, but I also wanted to be prepared to try to jump back in. So you don't want the speed to slow down too much and have the whole group blow by you.
Yeah, for sure. That's one way that people get dropped is they let their speed drop too much, and when the group comes by, then they accelerate to try to jump on and just kind of blow up. So you definitely have to keep your speed high enough to get back in the group.
There was a nice showing from the KRT, QRT team in the race as well. I think Ivory, Erica, Lonnie.
And there's Audrey for the first time on camera up there to the right.
I was happy that I was able to get back in and felt like I was able to recover some after, because I was dying, which then makes you second guess, did I not work hard enough? But seeing the video, I definitely, you know, I was above threshold a good chunk of the time, but that, I think that just speaks to the fitness. You're able to recover quicker, but of course your legs don't fully recover to be able to, you know, put the power down or put the effort in later, but you are able to recover pretty well when your fitness is good.
Yeah, so coming in, I think this I don't know if this is going into 3 laps to go or 2 laps to go now. Yeah, I think we're going into possibly two laps to go once they cross the finish line. I think they also had another preem as well. There was a lot of preems near the end of the race this weekend. There goes Audrey moving back closer to the front again. The side that Audrey's on over there is also protected by the wind. The wind was coming off the right. So here it's a right tailwind, but once you get to this side, it's a headwind, crosswind coming off the right side as well.
And I think the group had split into 2 pelotons at some point. I'm not exactly sure when it had happened, but it's easy when you're, in the front to just believe that everyone is all together because you don't know what's happening behind you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate too because you got Courtney on the front on a breakaway. You got this group right here in a chase group. You had the young lady in the blue Rafa in the middle, and then you had another group behind her, like well behind her, like I don't know, another 10, 15 seconds behind her or so. But it was unfortunate because Courtney lapped some of the field, and she was about to catch the young lady in blue. And I think the officials kind of confused her a little bit because it was the last lap for. I mean, it was Courtney was finishing, and they kind of said that was it. So I think the girl in blue thought she was finished too, and she pulled over. And there was still one lap to go for her. So then everyone passed her, and she was a little confused, like, oh, is the race over or is it not over? And then, of course, she had to go again. And it was just unfortunate because she would have easily had a much higher position. But it just happened that Courtney was passing her at the time that she was coming through the start-finish line, and there was a little confusion that the race was over for her.
Endure also had a few riders, Sandy, Deb, Rebecca, I think, so.
Yeah, I think Sandy's on the podium in this
Yep.
race. Sandy ended up getting third here.
Great job to her.
Yeah, so now we're coming into, I mean, we still have a couple turns to go, turns 3 and 4, but once they get to the front, they're going to be coming into the last lap. And like I said, these are some pretty big laps. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of time to make moves and stuff like that. And you can see everybody's kind of saving their energy for this last lap sprint.
It's nice to see the teams having some different strategies. So I know I heard, QRT kind of talking about, hey, talking to some of their riders. I heard Lonnie talking to Erica, and just, people are talking and game planning and strategizing. And I think it's great to see. I really think the level of women's racing, especially in some of these lower categories, has increased on the local level just from when we started racing a few years ago.
Yeah, definitely that is definitely the case. And that's hopefully we do our part in trying to contribute to that as well. And it's one of the reasons why we do the videos and stuff like that and talk about strategies and just do race breakdowns and talk about what happened. I think that helps, progress the sport as well. So here we go, going into the last lap. I hope this is the last lap. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
And I can just tell how impatient I am. Instead of just staying in and staying tucked in, I'm a little antsy to try to, do something.
Yeah, and I think you had figured, you were already in the break and kind of worn out. So, it's going to be a finish for Audrey here. So yeah, that's one of our it's one of the best things about our team is just, the teamwork aspect of it and being unselfish to help someone else. And this is something that I preach a lot, because right here you could just sit in and try to get your own finish. But yeah, you decide that it's better off for you to try to help Audrey get a good finish here.
But I should not be out here this early. Should be, if we had more teammates, maybe something, but this is way too early to be doing work on the front. So, it's a nice idea, but it does. I mean, there are some other riders to follow too. You kind of know who's going to be up there and who's going to have a good finish. And there are some masters in the field, so they won't count in the same category that you're in. So it's kind of nice to be thinking about all of those things. But here I'm just going to give pretty much it all that I have and try to, do what I can to stretch it out and, hopefully Audrey can get the best finish she can. But it is too early, so it should be a little bit later.
Yeah, and you can see there they go there, but they're have a long way to go. I think Maria's tucked in really nicely there because she's about third wheel, and they still have 2 turns to go. So, little early for the sprint to happen. It ends up just turning into a lead out. But yeah, like you said, people get impatient, and it's all just learning. So yeah, you want to go a little bit later, but it ended up working out and stretched out the field really well.
I know it was so early. I had time to go down to no watts and recover a little bit before the finish, which that should not happen. I should be, off the gas after this last corner.
Yeah, and it worked out for us. Audrey ended up getting second place. So I think Maria took the bunch sprint, and Audrey was behind her, but Maria was in the Masters category. So it definitely worked out. So we ended up getting second as well.
Thanks for tuning in.